What's up, Raiders? Bionic here. Welcome to another Raid Shadow Legends video. Today I want to talk about dungeons. More specifically, are they obsolete? Now, I say obsolete in the sense that do you still need to do them, or rather should I specify, do you still need to do all of them? Okay, so there are a couple of ways to go about this, and I thought I'd share it with you guys because I've had some mixed comments on YouTube. Sort of like I was saying, I'm probably not going to do Spider anymore. People are like, why would you not do Spider anymore? It's the best way to generate silver. Yes, but still, for a couple of points that I will give to you guys today, maybe it can enlighten you as to what your strategy might become as you progress in the game, as your account becomes a little bit older, okay? So one of the first things we could do is look at, let's say, the current fusion, all right? And of course, if we just look at these fusions, obviously you will have to do literally all 4 dungeons at some point. If you want to get that champion, you literally have to do them all. So with that argument alone, we could say, no, they're not obsolete. However, in one like the one we have right now, there's no dragon, okay? And you also have the ability to get a couple more fragments from the Fire Knight compared to, let's say, the Ice Golem. In my case, what I decided to do, I pushed Fire Knight far enough for me to get a couple extra fragments so that I do not have to do the Ice Golem. And that was not my original plan. I had told you guys I was going to do A here, where I was going to get only about 5 from the Fire Knight and then 5 from the Ice Golem, the low-hanging fruit first, okay? But Fire Knight has a very valuable gear that I need end game, or mainly, but I'll say for like end game PvP. Dragon continues to have very important gear, mainly the speed gear, but Ice Golem I'm not a big fan of in terms of gear. Therefore, what I did, and I can quickly show you guys, I actually finished first. This does not happen often. I don't usually plan on this to happen, okay, but we can see me up here finished first by, well, I'll say about 400 points total, which means I got 5 fragments, an extra 5 I didn't plan on, and then an extra 5 for finishing first. So if I go back to my spreadsheet, therefore I could say that this is now 15. So that means I could literally drop, let's say, the Spider tournament entirely, assuming it's the same milestones that it was for the Fire Knight. Don't have to push for first place. Or I could drop, let's say, the Ice Golem and perhaps something else. I don't know, maybe I could skip part of the Summon Rush, we'll say, right? Okay, you know what I mean. So I can now play around with my fragments a little bit more. Sure, I could get more fragments. Maybe I'll get like a second copy of this champion over time, but I don't need that. So what I'm trying to say is that for my account, Spider and Ice Golem are all of a sudden not that important anymore. And let me show you guys what I mean. It's simply the fact that even though Spider gives more silver per run because the accessories sell for a little bit more, my problem is that there is better gear now, okay? And that better gear comes in the form of the new accessories from the Bazaar. So of course that in the long run, for an older account trying to compete in the end game, what you will want is these accessories. You will want a set of this. But the problem with that is that you only get 2 per day. It is going to take a very long time for you to get a working set, let alone legendary, the right main stat on the right faction. I mean, this is a huge grind, right? So yes, Spider remains relevant. However, as your account becomes a little bit older and you realize that, you know, I do want some silver. I always want silver, don't get me wrong, but still, I now have enough accessories to gear my entire roster for all faction wars, all clan boss, the arena, the whole thing with the right main stat. So aside from getting better quality, there's no real reason for me to continue doing Spider because I would rather have that extra sort of buff that we get from these new ones right here, okay? Kind of like this. Although this is not necessarily really good, but a 5% chance to prevent a skill cooldown is huge, okay? So for me, I would say I'm gonna skip Spider even though I'm losing on silver because I'd rather still spend that energy into the other dungeons that would give me better improvements overall, such as better speed gear from the Dragon tournament. I always want to be faster, okay? That has not changed. Also, and like more recently, better immunity gear for some of my champions, okay? I just recently got this during this round of farming, which is pretty amazing overall, right? So I'd rather keep going and try and getting this than getting a little bit more silver from the Spider, all right? Then the next point we could make is obviously some of the dungeons, let me pull it up. I do have this sheet here, which I showed before. So huge shout out to Sadler 407 yet again for doing this. But he's been keeping track of his runs in Dragon 20, all right? And we knew that rare gear is actually more common, and we also know that speed pieces are less common, all right? So you could take this into consideration and be like, okay, well, let's say I'm not going to focus on this anymore, and instead I'm going to start focusing on the crafting. But the crafting doesn't necessarily give you everything you need to do all the content in the game. Therefore, crafting also becomes somewhat of a niche application. I mean, the perception sets as you're progressing are obviously quite good, but I think that speed pieces will remain very relevant all the way into the end game. Swift parry, for example, is very unique. I think a lot of our end game nukers will probably rely on this, especially for the arena. This can give you guys some clutch wins, and I think because of this, obviously, this will be the go-to, right? So like instead of focusing on savage gear and I'm gonna say like cruel gear, maybe most people will want to, in the end game, go swift parry, all right? But perception early on can be really good. So this brings me back to my first point, is that it really depends on the age of your account. You might say, well, you know what, like obviously I do need to farm some of the dungeons because I got to progress the missions. Yeah, obviously you're going to do it, right? You're also going to need a minimal amount of gear for you to progress in the game. Eventually though, you're going to start to want to aim for the end game material or the end game gear. Therefore, it's very different. I started at a time where none of this was accessible in the game, so I kind of just went about trying to progress with sort of like whatever was accessible. Dragon being probably one of the easiest dungeons to do, but still very relevant to date. Ice Golem was never popular. Most people don't really do it nowadays, right? So again, guys, take this into consideration as you select where you are going to farm your new gear. Also, don't forget that the clan boss does provide a good amount of gear. I showed this before, but like immortal pieces and cruel pieces are very universal, and this is something that you will get every day. And I showed this and I'll show it again, but like if we take a quick look at what my gear looks like, with the filter turned on for everything equipped, you can see sort of like the life pieces. They're obviously, you know, not really used. Offense pieces, we got a little bit in the beginning, never really farmed more, barely use it, sort of like on my secondary champions, rares, a couple epics here and there. Defense, kind of the same thing, but now we have the new set, which is obviously much better than this. But look at speed. Speed will continue to be very, very important on your account. Therefore, I'd say do not overlook Dragon. And like I said, maybe aside from the accessories for Spider, I also think that Spider is not that much important anymore. All right, and then finally let's look at lifesteal. Okay, again from Dragon, going to be very important. And finally all the way down to here, where we have more and more immunity and shield pieces for my account. Okay, this is making a big difference, especially if you're doing very defensive tanky builds. You're going to need a lot more of this, and also to sort of like protect yourself against crowd control champions or like torments. Immunity is excellent for this. And finally we have the cruel pieces and immortal, which I'll get to in a second. Okay, so obviously a lot of pieces in here being used. Immortal, kind of the same thing, not as much, but I feel it has its place, especially perhaps for like faction wars and thing of the sort. Okay, so to answer the question again shortly, are dungeons obsolete? Obviously not, but depending on where you are in the game, you will realize that there are certain things you need to focus on a little bit more. And for me right now, it is Dragon, Fire Knight, and then the new accessories, and then the new crafting. That is basically all I am looking for the time being, and I want to know what you guys think about all this. What are you currently doing? What's your strategy? Let me know in the comments below. As always, thank you so much for watching, and I will catch you guys later.